about that, but really excited to have you come here to talk about like kind of our journey with Databricks. I'll do a quick background on, hit the right button. Just disclaimer, this is the standard boilerplate stuff. A quick background on IQVIA. For those of you not familiar with IQVIA, and the part we're representing, Venkat and I are representing here, IQVIA collects and monitors data around the globe, around the life sciences industry. We use the term molecule to market. We have information and insights going everywhere from R&D through clinical processes all the way through launching products and monitoring their performance in the workplace. We collect data around the world for over 130 countries. We process billions and billions of healthcare transactions per year, and we manage that information, we curate it, and then we provide it back to the industry so they can measure performance, so they can optimize their businesses, so they can identify patients for clinical studies. We bring that information back to them. And so as part of that, one of our differentiating aspects as a company is that we focus on extremely high quality, highly reliable information. When we're collecting data from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of data sources, how do you make sure that data is clean? How do you make sure that data integrates properly? How do you do that? We manage that. Think about it, we build one big data warehouse with petabytes and petabytes of data, billions and billions of transactions to bring that information together. And as part of that, we've built a business in terms of how to use that information and help our clients use that information to, from drug discovery all the way through managing their portfolio. As a technology company, we've been around for 70 years. You've got to imagine we have every technology. Apologize, I just skipped over and I just went wrong slide. I'm looking at the wrong slide right here. As a technology company, we're 70 years old. You have to imagine we have every technology in the world under us. We still use mainframes. We still have petabytes of data on tape. We've built Cloudera, Hadoop infrastructures. We run in AWS, we run in GCP, we run in Azure. Whatever company we build, we absorb their technologies. However, as we look to optimize our business and grow our business, that's where we get selective around the technologies you use and the technologies we partner with. So in this case, we want to tell our journey with Databricks and how Databricks has really started to enable our business. Understanding that we've been managing data, collecting data for 70 years, we're constantly building on top of that. And what's unique about Databricks is it's a new technology, relatively speaking, but it's allowed us to make positive changes. It's not just bringing technology in for technology's sake. It's not just spending money on a new technology because it's new. We bring it in to help improve our business. And so our relationship with Databricks is unique in that we are a customer. Databricks sales team calls on us. We use the product. We're an SI partner. We do consulting services around Databricks to help our clients use Databricks. And we're also an OEM in that our partnership through the Marketplace has allowed us to embed Databricks in part of our product portfolio. And so we've really engaged Databricks across all three of those, and they're thought leaders in each one of those areas with us. And how do we improve our business? The first use case, we have three use cases we want to discuss. The first is a modernization of one of our platforms. We have an omnichannel business where we help clients monitor digital engagement with providers and with patients. So has a patient seen your advertisement on TV? Has a doctor received an email marketing a particular product to them? We have the ability to track and bring that information together. As we expanded into digital and our footprint grew, the volume of data grew tremendously. And all of a sudden we hit a breaking point. We were using a modern cloud data warehouse platform to try to process and do analytics on 3 billion, 4 billion transactions repeatedly during the week, repeatedly cycles for customers with response times, et cetera. The cost got too enormous, and what we used Databricks for was a way to optimize our processing for the analytical models we were building, optimize our processing for the data volumes and the turnaround for clients, and essentially allowed us to create a turnaround where you sell products, part of your price is your cost for hardware, software, cloud costs. We were able to lower those by 60%. Simply by migrating very quickly from one platform over to Databricks. And the real factor for us here was an 80% improvement or an 80% reduction in run times for our processes. So we're talking about taking things that were taking days down to a couple of hours, a couple of minutes, depending on the particular use case. And so the benefits were twofold there. We were faster and cheaper. That's a multiplier for our business. We sell services, we're a consulting organization, and as we're providing these advisory services for clusters, if we can do it faster and cheaper, it just allows us to grow our business that much faster. I'm going to pass to Venkat to provide more of a deep dive on what that migration looked like and that transition looked like.
Yes. Hi, this is Venkat Dasuri. I'm right now a partner at BeastBridge, and I'm an ex-IQVIA employee for almost 7 years, and I was a senior director of IT architecture, doing a lot of migrations and building new architectures on Databricks and stuff. So this is one of the applications that we have built, the largest type of migrations. So there are close to some 100 assets that needs to be built over the weekend. We start on Thursday, and it runs all the way till the end of Monday to process all these assets to bring it into the ETL. And then we used to run this on-prem, and eventually we started exploring with Databricks. Our journey with Databricks is actually quite interesting. We actually were doing a POC for doing a graph databases. And we started playing around with so many other different ETLs to ingest a lot of data into the vertices and edges and stuff. But then we finally touched with Databricks, and this is when we saw an awesome performance on Databricks, and then we started exploring with other applications. So then the gentleman right there, Charlie, he introduced us to Partner Academy. We started learning all the things over there, and we started experimenting over it. And then we started building a pipeline, the majority of the largest asset, which is, if you see there, the RX and DX data, the claims and the doctor visits, et cetera. Those are the biggest, largest assets. They carry over a 20-year history of these data sets. And we just brought into the Delta Lake, and then we played around, fine-tuned it with respect to what type of clusters to use and what type of performance tuning around it that we know we had to tune that to bring the data in. And then eventually that also became simpler with Databricks using adaptive query engine. We don't have to put any parameters in there. And then we started ingesting that data all over to build the end-to-end pipeline onto it. And we actually kind of converted this whole thing in under 6 months. And we were able to bring the timeline from running from 4 days to under 2 days. So when we now start on a Saturday morning, and by end of Sunday, we complete the weekly process of this batch ETL, and then bring this data, and that is available for all the other applications to start using these data sets. So based on this asset is what so many other applications that serves the customer for reports and other things is what builds on this. Eventually, once this data set is available, we started working with Unity Catalog, enabled it for internal different departments and groups to access this data. And then we built a CI/CD pipeline on it and enabled Databricks repos to build our entire software engineering practices on it. And then we wanted to also see, ironically, actually, the process that we are doing on-prem, there was a lot of quality checks that happens before we say that it is deliverable to the end customer. And then we saw there were a lot of still QC checks that were failing on-prem, but after we migrated and we were running in parallel on both on-prem and as well as on Databricks, and what we processed and what we brought into Databricks was much cleaner and much, we were doing it better than getting those reports out. And once this succeeded, then we started putting on some log analytics around it, building some assets, configurations to make sure that we see at the end of the job to find out how this pipeline is going through all the way, right from ingestion to building it over a Delta Lake, and then building some logic apps around it to show by the end of the week, there is a custom dashboard that is available on Elastic to tell how the assets have been built and how much time does it take and all those things. And then people were so excited. Almost all organizations started using Databricks, And here is one guy who always runs notebooks for a very long time. So we started actually setting up Overwatch on it. And then we enabled Overwatch to make sure that how is it being used, how is it being utilized. And then we made some fun, cool dashboards around it to tell what is the longest running notebooks, how many spills happening on the bad jobs. All those metrics are provided at the end of the week to make sure that we are utilizing it effectively, and it's not using just the interactive clusters, and we moved over all our workflows to Databricks jobs and using job clusters to make sure our jobs are efficient and we are saving costs on it, on DBU costs, etc. And then eventually we just, after that, a lot of other smaller pipelines, smaller data sets, we did the biggest job much faster. So now smaller applications, we started migrating to see how they can all integrate and coexist within the platform, and with just Unity Catalog on top of it. And we started building, for all the different groups who want to start onboarding to Databricks, we started writing a Terraform code. It builds right from the resource group. It builds the route tables, NAT gateways, and then the Unity Catalog connector to it, and then spinning up a Databricks workspace, the blob, the vault, and then it also spins up the cluster and the cluster policies to make sure not everybody is doing everything that they're not supposed to be doing. And then everything that we have to give a workspace readily available, we had that Terraform that runs to spin up all the different environments with dev, QA, and prod. And then we readily gave that to the development team to start working on it. And then so far, I think we have migrated close to some 10 applications or so, at least until last year, but now there are more than that. And then we put most of these things in a uniform, streamlined fashion that gets it into Databricks and then builds the entire Delta Lakehouse for us.
I would say what was great about this was the initial impetus for this was we had a client went into production, and we rang up a $40,000 database bill in 1 week. And somebody said, whoa, something's wrong, and they shut the system down. Well, the problem is we couldn't deliver to our customers now. And by moving over to this platform, it not only allowed us to do things faster, we had hit a point where we couldn't sign new customers. It just wasn't cost effective, it wasn't cost feasible. And if you're waiting 4 days for a process to finish, how many customers can you do at the same time while you're waiting for 4 days? So bringing all this together, and the enhancements Venkat and team made to streamline that is, it's created this foundation now, whereas we have, products of this pattern can essentially be transported into this platform. So whether it's a legacy product or a new product, the way the pipeline's been architected are really to help us build new products for our customers. Next application is looking at ML, and one of the things we do as a company is we link data from tens of thousands disparate data sources. And I mean, you all know, there's a different layout and a different format for every standard. It's really hard to link data. And then throw things into this, like different languages. How do I link, how do I figure out, I'll pick Nexium as a product for some reason. How do I figure out Nexium in Chinese, in Hindu, in English? How do I correlate those names together? So, third-party language translations, linking data together, bringing it together. I mentioned earlier, we've been managing data for 70 years. Going back into the early days of the business, it was literally people putting numbers, reading pieces of paper and putting numbers in ledgers is how we started. We used to distribute books with our data. Going back even into the 80s and 90s, we still distributed books to our customers. Fast forward to today, it's not possible to use humans to master and bridge all of your data. The business, even if you're using deterministic systems to specify business rules, there's always going to be outliers of data. And so we literally have thousands of people whose job it is to, for those outliers that don't bridge, thousands of people who bring that data together and manually bridge that data stewards. And we've almost perfected that industry. We sell that service to other customers as well as doing it for our own data. What we've realized, though, to leapfrog and improve that efficiency, a tremendous cost to our organization, we've explored and deployed the ability to build machine learning algorithms to do that bridging for us, to minimize the amount of manual work that has to do. And this is looking internal and operational efficiency to improve the performance of our existing organization. We're able to use Databricks as an effective platform to not just generate highly accurate, valuable models, but also give us something that we're highly reliable, that are allowing us to actually improve the quality of our data services. And
sure, yeah. The next thing is with this AML stuff, we know nothing about back in the day. So we started taking again the Partner Academy classes and then looking at how we can start building our base models. And by the way, how many of you are notebook developers, lovers? Don't worry. So, so there is another alternative, which is now you can do with DBX Connect and stuff, and then you can integrate whatever you're trying to do with that. But eventually everything will be replaced by some English SDK, I guess so. So we started doing a lot of this training on this data set, and then we started building a cookie cutter solutions around it that would actually train this model and do some hyperparameter tuning around it, and then pick this model and then gradually promote us from stage to production, and then start serving it over a smaller machine on a serverless machines, and then play around with this entire ML flow of this. And whatever the features that we are generating out of it, they are right now on S3, but that's where the other consumers of it are using it. But eventually we'll take this feature store and put it back on Unity catalog, and that's where we'll actually share this whole assets back to them. And then all of our tuning and our prediction, whatever the entire pipeline that we have built, that was in a much faster life cycle. And this is one of the fastest applications that we have delivered for this AML bridging use case.
I'm realizing I should have done at least a screenshot of the application itself. So to give you a perspective on what this application does, let's say we have data coming through that has a doctor on that data. So we contain a master database of all the doctors in the world. It's considered one of the most comprehensive databases there are. But if I get a new data set and it comes in from China, or comes in from the US, et cetera, it's got a doctor ID on it. That doctor ID is unique to that country of origin. What we have to do is we have to map that, find that doctor in our database and map it to our standard ID. That information you get in the transaction, you have no idea what it is. It's an ID. It's a name that's been typed in by somebody somewhere. It's an address. There might be other types of information. And so what we do is those transactions come in. If we identify in the transaction there's doctor-related information, it feeds into the ML algorithm. The algorithm then generates a score and does an evaluation in real time of what is the correct match for that. And when we have thresholds, if there's like a 90+% match threshold, we accept those by default. But if there's something that falls out of the threshold, and that's an arbitrary number, but if there's something that falls out of the threshold, a user interface pops up, and then there's a queue of every transaction that's been missed, and that algorithm takes out what do we think the best match are. We give you the rules behind the machine learning algorithm to say we're picking this doctor for these reasons. However, this would be our second recommendation if you use these reasons for it. And we give the information, feed it back to the individual that has to make that human decision on how to map the doctor to another thing. So as we look at this architecture, from a batch perspective, it's processing billions of records a week. From a user interface perspective, it's giving split-second response times via UI at the same time, allowing us to make decisions on how to actually execute for the things that the ML algorithm can't solve for us. Big announcement this week was IQVIA being available on the Databricks Marketplace. We were identified Life Sciences Partner of the Year, which is something that we're extremely happy to be able to say we're able to do. As a company, we historically have delivered tens of thousands of data files to our customers every year. Every customer gets tens of thousands of files. We ship out probably 50, 60 petabytes of data to our customers as they subscribe to our data sets. Historically, after we got past tapes and books, we sent files. And those files get updated every week, every day, every month, sent to customers. And that's led to like a niche in the industry of how do I manage and integrate IQVIA data? There's companies that specialize in just doing that. Parts of my company specialize in doing it. We have competitors that specialize in doing that. And the reason is when you send tens of thousands of data files over a week, there's a chance things change, there's a chance things break, there's a chance the data coming in may change and there might be an outlier in the data. All these things could happen before I even use the data, to solve a business problem. And then when you get data from one country and you get data from another country, guess what? We change all of our IDs. We change all of our layouts on you. We change all of our column names on you. There's a lot of inconsistency around how we distribute data globally based on how we've grown. And so we created this concept leveraging delta sharing as the ability, instead of us sending files, we're going to create a database in Databricks, and we're going to manage and integrate the data into that database for you so you don't have to do it. So instead of processing tens of thousands of data files every year to keep updating your copy of the database, we're just going to maintain a copy for you. And every time you log in, it's got the most recently available data for you. And it's already been QA'd, QC'd, integrated, so you can access a single database schema instead of 20,000 data files figuring out how to manage it. And so as we look at the data as a service concept, one of the challenges we had with our customers was they would treat, if you're just going to give me data files as tables. Well, I don't want to give you, if I give you 20,000 data files, I don't want to give you 20,000 tables. So how do we change the mentality of somebody that's built an infrastructure and architecture with data lakes and data warehouses and ADMs? How do we change that so they don't have to go back and rebuild all of those things just to use our new service? We're trying to make their life easier, not make it more difficult by taking over the data management aspect of trying to manage IQVIA data. So what we've been able to do, through a progression over years, and Databricks has really brought us to this next level, is we create a Databricks tenant that is dedicated, it's an IQVIA tenant. We create a client-specific database in the database so that we can prevent data from commingling with other companies. We can prevent user access from accessing data they haven't licensed. And then within that, we create a private delta share that allows that to go directly into the client's environment. And what we've seen is all the steps the customer has to do in terms of picking up files, validating headers, integrating data, aggregating data. We can execute all those steps with the IQVIA data before we've even released the data to them. And the benefit to our clients has been cutting 4, 5, 10, 15 days off of data processing schedules. It allows them to access information that's pre-integrated with IQVIA information so that, or integrating their information with our information so they can act on that information faster, and gives them the opportunity to really stop worrying about processing our data, waiting and wasting time processing our data. The data's there ready for them to use and do analytics on the second we release it to them. From a benefits perspective, we see a cost of ownership reduction about 50%. Clients spend a lot of money on our data. We're a $20 billion company. A large percentage of that is data revenue. They spend a lot of money on that data. We've demonstrated we can reduce their cost of ownership by 50%. So they're not paying IT organizations, they're not paying consulting organizations. We've optimized our infrastructure to be very cost effective. All of that gets realized as they start to migrate to the service to save money. There's a reduction of complexity, reduction in time to insights are really the things we focus on. If you're not wasting time trying to figure out how to use our data, or trying to figure out how to integrate our data, how to manage our data, you can spend that time doing much more valuable work, interpreting the data, analyzing the data, building models against the data. And that's the shift in workload we're seeing with our customers by using the capabilities of the marketplace, the capabilities using delta sharing, is that we're able to offload all that complexity from them and allows them to essentially get time to insights faster, which then they're further justifying the investments in the data they've made in the first place. It's an example of a customer where the complexity here is they're buying data from us all over the world. I think globally they were getting 350 data subscriptions, hundreds of thousands of data files from us per year. By going through this infrastructure, we were able to globally locate all the data, bring it through this centralized architecture, standardize it, and put it all into a single integrated database for the customer. They had 12 different IT organizations doing that work every week, every month around the world. They were able to centralize that all into one organization. And then from their perspective, part of their motivation was staff reduction. They were able to eliminate those resources doing that work of integration, but then also they were able to, again, gain access to the data a lot faster, a lot easier, for them to gain benefits from the data. One aspect of this is there is no one size fits all. And so as we look at it with Delta Share, the key benefit we have, and going back to the private shares that we do, there is no one version of our data. There is no one data model for our data. There is no one application for it. And so we have to have the ability to quickly tailor the integration and the application for our customers. So two customers may buy the same data type. They may look at the data differently. They may model the data differently. And so what we focused on is an 80% solution that gives them what we call as a best practice for managing our data, and then a 20% solution that allows them to customize that data, customize the analytics on that data to meet their needs. And so this flexibility we've given them, it's allowed them to say, well, I use your data, but I want to do something different. We can build that into the platform. It's allowing them to say, well, if you give me your data in this format, I still need to do work with it. We can eliminate that infrastructure cost by doing that, moving that custom work in there with them. We say it's fit for purpose data, but it's made to order, and that's where we go, and we can customize to meet the unique requirements of the customer. And that's being like another aspect of this. When we put data in the marketplace, what we offer the clients is the exact version of the data that they need to run their business. We don't make them hunt and peck and try to go and discover what that data is on their own by giving them just one standard data set and say, figure out how to use it. It is a white glove service that allows us to bring that data together for them and curate it specifically to their needs. I thought there was one more slide for you.
There was one last thing.
What?
This was the one last thing that you built us on.
Oh, okay.
Stuff, yeah.
Okay. So as coming back in summary, IQVIA and Databricks, we are a customer. We use the technology. It's in our products. It's in the services we offer our customers today. In terms of the data, we are a data company. We've had a very big push in terms of moving our customers over to this data sharing concept. The marketplace is a big impetus for that. When we look at the marketplace, it's also not just the data aspect of it. It is the model aspect of it. It is the sharing of notebooks access of it. So instead of, and that's what Databricks has differentiated for us, is that I can model the data, I can put the data in there for you. I can also give you the tools to analyze that data now with the Databricks Marketplace. And so it's extending that concept where we've had the success of sharing data with customers. We now have the ability to share our analytics with customers at the same time. And I see that as kind of the next evolution of this concept around data sharing. And then last, for the customers out there, we can help you build it. We've partnered with companies that have shown the ability to help us use Databricks, and partnering with them and centralizing on unique capabilities for the technology, as well as our understanding of the market and data as a way to help customers onboard themselves and get acclimated and prosper with Databricks.
Yeah, coming soon with the generative AI.
Yep.
Coming soon with the generative AI, building an LLM on top of it. Yes, that would be the next year focus.
Okay. So that's a wrap.